Today I am in Miami, Florida at the Global Producer Summit for Maker Faire. It's been a crazy year. We were looking back at 2016. We had almost 200 Maker Fairs in 38 countries. And many of the representatives from those Maker Fairs are here today sharing ideas, tips, tricks, ways to make their Maker Fairs better, ways to get their makers into the spotlight more. And these are some of the most passionate makers I have ever met. And I think it's time we go around, meet some of them, and ask them a few questions.
I'm with Maker Faire Calgary and Red Deer Mini Maker Faire.
Maker Faire Orlando.
Maker Faire Milwaukee.
Maker Faire Pittsburgh.
I'm at Maker Faire Berlin.
Orlando and future Volusia County.
Rochester, New York.
I'm Maker Faire Shenzhen and Maker Faire Xi'an, the second Maker Faire in China.
Greater Hartford Maker Faire, Connecticut.
I'm with Maker Faire San Diego.
Cincinnati Mini Maker Faire.
Southwest Michigan Mini Maker Faire.
I'm with the Rockland Mini Maker Faire in California.
Westport Maker Faire in Connecticut.
I'm with the Albuquerque Mini Maker Faire in New Mexico.
Maker Faire Austin.
I'm Maker Faire Detroit.
East Bay Mini Maker Faire in Oakland, California.
Kyiv, Odessa, Kharkiv, Lviv, and we're also trying to do Dnipro, other city, but we didn't have enough energy for 5 cities last year.
Binghamton, New York. Maker Faire Bilbao.
Madrid, Spain.
Barcelona, Catalonia.
Bilbao, Basque Country.
Maker Faire Miami.
Maker Faire Kathmandu.
Cleveland Mini Maker Faire. Madrid, Spain.
I'm with Maker Faire Detroit.
Houston Maker Faire.
I'm from Maker Faire Atlanta.
I'm with Maker Faire Nova.
I'm with Maker Faire Pittsburgh.
I'm with the Milwaukee Maker Faire.
Charlottesville, Virginia.
Maker Faire Milwaukee, go Pack!
Maker Faire France.
Maker Faire Orlando.
Kathmandu Mini Maker Faire.
Okay, so we have this amazing resource of people from all over the world here that run Maker Fairs. I wanted to pick your brains on some aspects of running a Maker Faire. And here we have Philip from Germany. Tell us, well, first of all, how you're involved with Make.
Actually, I was an editor for the German edition of Make magazine for a long time. We've been doing Maker Faire in Germany since 4 years ago in Hanover. And now we're going into our 5th year. We've added Berlin and a few more cities, so it's actually really coming together. So
very cool.
That's the thing.
Very cool. And what is one difficult aspect of running a Maker Faire?
My personal favorite would be to get all the people there and convince them that they're makers, because it gets easier over the time, because Maker Faire is something that's become a household name sometimes. But sometimes you see people and they do awesome stuff, they're creative, they make stuff. You're like, you should be at my event, you're a maker. And they're like, what's a maker? Like, oh, you're in for a treat. So we'll convert everybody to a maker at some point, and that's not really hard, but sort of like, at some point you got all the points rehearsed, and you know the spiel to tell you, okay, a maker, that's that, a Maker Faire, here you go. So
convincing people that they are in fact makers.
Exactly.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Really trying to make the event be special for everyone, which everyone wants something different out of it. So trying to balance all of those things and make sure that everyone has a good time. That's pretty tricky.
The weather.
Organizing the committee, the producers committee, and getting everybody to stay on task and to get all of the different little pieces put together.
Community organizing, I mean, that's always difficult, dealing with all the different entities that you have to work with and get them on the same page.
I find a struggle is figuring out ways to reach audience and sell tickets. Like, how do you, marketing is such an enormous effort that, and the ability to access audience is like, you have to manage so many different channels.
The biggest challenge of putting on a Maker Faire is also the most exciting part. And that is getting the word out there, getting people interested, getting to know what this is, and then on the day of the Maker Faire, to see the excitement that comes. That's what makes it all worthwhile.
Mother Nature and controllable weather.
The toughest is to make yourself believe that these things will happen. When you are okay with this belief, you will be okay with your Maker Faire.
The Maker Summit is being held in Miami, Florida this year. And while we're here, they've taken the opportunity to show us some of the cool things that Miami is doing to incorporate the maker culture. One of the things they're doing is experimenting with public spaces. We have here the area underneath the public transportation. And they're experimenting with turning this, what was just parking, into public spaces. We have dog parks, we have areas for kids to play, playgrounds, yoga, gathering places. They even have food trucks, and they've been experimenting with bike lanes and clubs and stuff like that, even at night. It's an interesting experiment, and one of the things that's allowed them to keep doing this is the temporary nature of it all. They can try something and see if it works, and if it does work, then go from there to figure out how to make it stick forever. So, I want to say thank you to Miami for having us here and showing us all this cool stuff. So even though this is an event mostly about planning and sharing ideas, of course, we're makers. There's going to be some making going on here. The Maker Faire Orlando team brought screen printing, and they're actually making the shirts for this event at this event. So you make your own shirt for the event. It's pretty cool. I've been to a lot of maker fairs, and one of the things that I love hearing are the success stories. There's always somebody who's like, shows up, gets inspired, and then goes and does something cool. And I hear all these stories from the producers. So here we have Jason Bedard from Calgary in Canada. Jason, give us an example of one of these success stories.
So in our second year, we had this 9-year-old girl come and present, and she had learned about brush spots in Make Magazine, and she taught people how to make brush spots. And so from there, she went on to demonstrate this at science centers and so on and so forth, and realized she had a product. And with her sister and friend, they started a robotics company. And now they sell brush spot kits to educators and actually go out and teach this in the field as well. And that, to me, is just, she's growing up with the fair as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a great example. Thank you, Jason.
I think one of the story came behind the Maker Faire would be there is a team called MakeBrock, and the first time they joined the Maker Faire Shenzhen, and they also, that is also the Dell's first time in China, in Shenzhen, and they get in touch with each other, and they'll bring MakeBrock to Bay Area. So now they are very, very good in the U.S. market, and so I think it's very good story for their business. At that time, they are very a small team. Now it's kind of 200 people teams right now. So it is a very good story of that.
My story about Makerspaces is a library in the Houston area. Worked with the Victoria Library and some citizens. A little girl, Caitlin, who had needed a prosthetic arm, and a whole team in the Houston area, the public library, worked together to get her a prosthetic arm. And it was 3D printed, all mechanical. She was able to grab stuff. It was awesome.
We have a girl named Etta that likes to come to our fair, and we met her. She repurposes old dolls. So think of taking a Barbie doll and turning it into a superhero and adding all kinds of cars and accessories and different things and making and building all those out. She's a great kid, and we love sharing her story with the people that come see us.
Okay, we had this volunteer at our last event who was just a giant. He was just huge. And he came over to me because he'd been volunteering for a couple years, and he said, I don't fit these shirts. This just doesn't work for me. I feel unappreciated. And we said, go over to Building 61. They're doing a costume hackathon. And it's just a silly little thing about hacking your own world, right? So he took these couple small shirts that would not fit the giant, and he went over to Building 61, and they pulled it apart, and they made it this really awesome apron. They took out the logos and made pockets out of the extra shirt. He came back, and his whole face was beaming. He was just like, nobody's ever treated me this well. At once, something works for me, and he just went on the whole rest of the day smiling and happy.
Dale's actually one of the makers that made a video game. He's about 10 years old and was a programmer, and he actually inspired all the older inbound international programmers that had no idea that little kids could run around making and exhibiting their video games, and they're like, we need to get our lives together.
So actually the first Maker Faire I went to was Bay Area in 2011, and I took my son, who was 11 at the time, and at the end of the first day he looked at me and he said, you know what, Dad? I'm like, what, buddy? And he says, ordinary people can make amazing things. And I thought, You know, if an 11-year-old can take that away from the event, that's pretty damn amazing.
We'll see you next year at the Maker Faire Global Summit. Woo!